И мы возвращаемся с вами в это прекрасное приключение. С вами Ванити и The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Это правда,
Stanley
что
decided to
могло
go
бы
to the meeting room.
значить.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Давайте потрогаем все компьютеры. Какие мы еще не выполняли задачи?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Давайте пойдем в левую дверь. Будем следовать всем инструкциям нашего оратора. Или наратора.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping... Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and
Да, мы это помним. Я надеюсь, у меня ничего не сбросилось с прошлого раза.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even
Ладно,
doing
не
anything.
будем сидеть в
At least if there was
подсобке.
something to interact with, he'd be justified in coming to a staircase. Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Мы это уже помним, мы это уже все делали. Ты открыто? Нет, ты закрыто. Я надеюсь, нам не придется повторять все по новой. Просто потому, что я
Stepping into his
отключил.
manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible.
Да.
He didn't even have a single minute
Открывай
to
уже.
just let the
Мы все
narrator
это уже
talk.
знаем.
That kind of anxiety isn't healthy.
Какие
So he
экзотические
relaxed
вина,
for a few
кстати.
moments with some calming new age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated,
Да,
Stanley
наконец-то.
calmly walked forward into the open
Открывайте мне.
passageway.
Я уже все знаю здесь, я все уже трогал, я все уже проходил.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself.
Мы
to
как-то
question
долго
the nature of his job.
едем
Why did he
вниз.
feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him?
А,
This
вот.
question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Мы как раз сюда и придем. Мы наблюдали все здесь. Сейчас
The lights
покажу.
rose
Вон
on an
с того
enormous
моста.
room
Нет,
packed with
подождите.
television screens.
Какого?
What
Вон с
horrible
того
secret did
мостика.
this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Поэтому я хочу еще раз прийти сюда и посмотреть, что же здесь такого. Что же здесь еще есть
Now
интересного.
the monitors jumped to life. Their true nature revealed.
Ой, сколько
Each bore
писем.
the number of an employee in the
Некоторые из
building.
этих писем,
Stanley's
кстати,
coworkers. The lives of so many individuals
довольно
reduced to
настоящие.
images on a screen. And Stanley,
Вполне
one
себе
of them,
можно прочитать
determined
какую-нибудь
they monitored
историю.
in this place where
Как мы уже
freedom
знаем.
meant nothing.
Прошлого раза-то. Мы все мы все таблички прочитали.
This
Ну, я
mind
надеюсь.
control facility,
В комнате,
it was too
созданной
horrible to
специально
believe it couldn't be
разработчиком.
true. Had Stanley really been under
Про
someone's
разработку.
control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
О, да.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it.
Какой
His own
волнующий
life
момент
in
всё
someone
же.
else's control? Never.
Мне так нравится, как мы несемся навстречу приключениям впервые. Это было просто потрясающе. И вот мы здесь. Вот мы здесь. Мы можем куда-нибудь залезть?
Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Я хочу нажать включить. Вернемся.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control?
Да.
Oh, Stanley,
Вернуться к своей старой прекрасной жизни.
But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation
Какой аварийной детонации?
If this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
Вы чё, нет? Какое уничтожение?
Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious...
Я знаю, что мне нужно сделать. Нет, я не дамся. Я просто так. Я отпущу. Мы включим эту дурацкую машину, и пусть она управляет моими чувствами. Буду нажимать дурацкие кнопки. 1, 2. Нет?
Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp.
Нет, подожди, где у нас пятая кнопка была?
This version of events has been rather amusing.
Я видел, вот она.
Take back the control wrested away from you. It's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go.
Кто нас просит теперь?
I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left.
Я же нажал пятую.
You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Что мне нужно делать? Объясните. Так я же пятую нажал. Вот она, пятая. Она идет туда. Мне нужно нажать. Да замолчи ты.
Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
Или не...
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment.
Нет!
But here's a spoiler for you.
Что?
That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along.
Я сделал все плохо.
Ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble.
Что мне нужно делать?
It's not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
Какой goodbye, employer?
That's 30 seconds you
Я хочу все.
30 seconds until a big boom.
Я хочу все это остановить. Прекрати. Ах, вон оно, у нас консоль была, и мы, может, с помощью консоли мы могли что-нибудь сделать. А не ядерный заряд выпустить.
And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
Вы сделали все плохо. Мы уже увидели в прошлый раз новый контент. И нам остался еще новый контент. Давайте-ка же глянем, что же там.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ладно, посмотрим твой новый контент.
You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Да, давай же покажи новый контент. Там, кстати, тоже есть какая-то дверь, и я бы хотел посмотреть, что в ней. Но, видимо, не покажут. Там, наверное... Я хотел сказать, там, наверное, много-много нового контента. Но, по-моему, мы приехали в то же самое место. Опять этот же самый лифт?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this Ultra Deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step
О, да, давай пойдем.
Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
Да! Наконец-то мы добрались до The Stanley Parable 2.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
О, да, новый контент меня уже радует.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Мне нравится у них целое обновление. Теперь не эти огромные пузатые мониторы, а тоненькие ноутбуки и мониторы. Это все для меня.
I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Вау! Новые возможности с новым контентом. Генна, можно мне сюда зайти? Я хочу все пощелкать, я хочу все потыкать. The Stanley Parable 2.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Класс. Мерч. Так, я хочу посмотреть, что за мерч. Нет? Так, успокаивающее ведро. Блин, там успокаивающее ведро или бесконечная дыра? Я хочу, наверное, успокаивающее ведро.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I am happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the
давай его мне.
The Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for
Ну я понял, давай мне ведро прекрасное.
While the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution.
Идеальное решение.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Оно так громыхает теперь у меня в руках.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Что здесь? Прыжковый круг или бесконечная дыра? Мы же хотели бесконечную дыру. Вау! Бесплатно?
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement.
Действительно достижение?
You'll come to this lever. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This
Дай
is
мне.
technology that will exist.
Дай.
Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel. To at
Ну
last
вот,
satisfy
я
the
сейчас
hordes
хочу.
of ravenous fans all over
Дай
the
мне
world,
достижение.
uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Может, я как-нибудь починить могу? Дай мне достижение. Там что-то есть. Могу я, наверное, туда засунуть ведро? Давай я тебе ведро дам за достижение. Вот. Что еще здесь есть? Здесь у нас есть достижение, которое сломанное. Конечная дыра вон в той стороне. Чего?
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons.
О, да,
But I'm undecided
шариков.
on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Я хочу вот эти.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along.
О,
Happy 12th
да.
birthday, Stepney.
Но это не те шарики, которые я загадывал. Один из них, кстати, застрял. Фиговый у тебя шарик. Да блин, я ж белый хотел.
Actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Здесь мы были. Давай-ка я верну ведерко. Ведро, конечно, классное. Иди-ка ты на свой пьедестал. Нет? Ну ладно. Будем мы с этим ведром навечно. Там есть, кстати, какие-то кнопки.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
То есть, подожди, оно будет говорить Стэнли?
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim. Jim. Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name.
Я еще раз хочу на нее нажать, Джим.
This time, let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now?
Да, я доволен.
I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on? Jim. See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says. But no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away.
Нет! Подожди, это моя кнопка. Это моя была кнопка. Ну вот, презентовали нам новый, улучшенный The Stanley Parable. И забирает все, что мы можем потыкать. Забирают все, что мы можем потыкать здесь. Вот тебе и новый The Stanley Parable. А цветок-то не настоящий. В цветке-то мы можем спрятаться. Ну или почти спрятаться. А может я смогу спрятаться вот здесь? Нет, не смогу.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created here.
А это что такое?
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
О, эпилог? Офигенно. Collectibles? Подожди, я хочу collectibles. Или я хочу посмотреть, что сверху. Я хочу все. Чемпион мира по настройкам. Я хочу быть чемпионом. Крой. Я слышал, по-моему, что... нет, это, наверное, ведро. Халявные достижения там. Нет, мы здесь были. Здесь халявные достижения, и я его хочу.
Collectibles. Now it's a real video game.
О,
In the
да.
Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your
Как это жутко выглядит. Ей, 1 из 6! Но мы можем еще собирать collectibles. О, да. Лучше, чем первоначальная игра. Что мы еще... Блин.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump
Ну
circle.
я откуда знал?
Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Я хочу попрыгать. Я откуда знал, что надо чуть-чуть себе оставить? Это бесконечная дыра?
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Мы будем прыгать в нее?
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top.
Ну ты так хочешь, чтобы я нажал на эту кнопку телепорта? Может твой бесконечный... Может твоя бесконечная дыра вовсе не бесконечная? Нет, нет.
It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective,
по-моему, она заканчивается и...
merely philosophical in nature.
Нет.
It's more of a...
А.
Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole.
Да.
You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem.
Во мне проблема. Я просто хотел посмотреть на бесконечную дыру.
Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Ладно.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Хватит, мы слишком долго там были. Я могу в эти окна выйти? Погодите-ка. А может у нас есть здесь что-то? А нет, ничего нет. А ну стой. Там сверху тоже что-то есть. Вау, здесь есть карта, кстати. Так, прыжковый круг, карта. Бесплатное достижение мы взяли. Кнопка, которая говорит имя игрока, запустившего игру. Мерч смотрели. Setting World Champion мы тоже смотрели. Ведерко мы нашли. Декорации для офиса тоже нашли. Эпилог нашли. Collectibles нашли. Бесконечную дыру нашли. Где выход? Выход на Е. Мы вот здесь. И у нас... Вот где-то здесь, да? Да.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Мне очень нравится. Мне все это очень нравится. Ладно.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features?
О, да.
Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Там, кстати, коллектаблс есть.
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much
Ну,
better.
что же ты мне покажешь на этот раз?
Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it.
О, да.
With respect.
Это значит, что мы будем с ведерком ходить, никогда не разлучаться. Так ведь?
But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, this is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Мы сделали это! The Stanley Parable 2! Мы открыли его! Вау! Мне очень нравится этот эффект. Что же в нем? Давайте же узнаем.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
О да, и это не те шарики, которые я хотел.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ведро! О, да! Это же ведро. Ну ладно, мы не будем его, наверное, на этот раз брать. Зачем оно?
Stanley
Да
felt the
ладно,
bucket
возьмем.
calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Stanley picked up the bucket.
Все, здесь больше нету нового контента.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Давай, пойдем.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Ох, тепло и уют этого прекрасного стального ведра.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it?
О,
The broom
да.
closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a
Даже мне его
bucket. It belongs
поставить.
in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good thing, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now.
Я,
that you have
может,
to be
готов
strong.
расстаться
This
со
is your
своим
bucket.
ведерком.
This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through
Я там
each of them
во
point
стольких
by point.
местах был с этим
Share your journal
ведерком.
entries detailing
Я-
the rich emotional
всё-
landscape
я
of
так
your
много
feelings for the
получил
bucket,
с
as
этим
they have
ведерком.
changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Ладно, я, может, готов оставить ведерко. Ведерко принадлежит этой
Okay,
подсобке.
I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
О,
There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
теперь это собственность Стенли.
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket.
О,
There
это
really is a
ведро.
wide variety of applications for this sticker. You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Нет? Вот.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Может, я ведро могу оставить здесь? Смотри, какой прекрасный...
You found one of them.
one of the miniature Stanley
Wow.
figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Класс. Я хотел сказать, что это ведро можно оставить здесь, в таком прекрасном, чудеснейшем туалете. А мы нашли еще лучше, чем место для нашего ведра.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along?
Может,
Was the
и
bucket
ведро.
guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Еще одна.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs?
Я уже хочу такую игрушку.
Stanlerines. Yes, I think I like that.
Чтобы у меня был маленький
Stanlerine
Стэн.
under your belt.
Так, откуда я пришел? Отсюда? Нет, наоборот. Мне нужно сюда.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket.
Сколько же это ведро? Везде ведро.
Reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Эй, ведро. Привет.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Да. Покажи мне это.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Я уже забыл про этот путь. Как далеко мы его проходили. Ах да, нас же здесь должны раздавить. Но у меня-то есть ведро, верный мой спутник, который поможет нам.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Нет, ведро.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
И здесь тоже
In a single
ведро.
visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death.
Блин. Уже
It was a
здесь были.
shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Ведро приглашает вас на большую выставку. Вы подошли к порогу настоящего знания. Как и само ведро, человеческий разум зачастую всего лишь пустой сосуд. Но с помощью таких средств, как эта выставка, разум наполняется смыслом и познанием. Знание о ведре и его истории – единственная непреложная истина в переменчивом мире. Возьмете ли вы с собой во внешний мир то, что узнаете здесь? Откроете ли разум тому, что может показаться сложным или даже невыносимым? Поменяете ли вы свою жизнь и жизнь своих близких после этой выставки? Или отвернетесь и будете жить как прежде, в невежестве и темноте? Вся выставка, посвященная ведру.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
25 ведер. Фото 25 ведер сразу. Большего количества не удалось снять никому. Фотограф на несколько недель буквально потерял дар речи. Настолько велика была его радость от снимка с таким количеством ведер. А мне кажется, по-моему, здесь гораздо больше 25 ведер. Смотрите-ка. Может быть, если 125... Ведро с двумя ручками. Ведро представлено с двумя ручками сразу. В реальной жизни такой дизайн ни разу не использовался. Его признали слишком опасным и безрассудно новаторским. Каждый год в нескольких странах казнят тех, кто пытается его реализовать. О боже мой! Ересь! Адское ведро. Репродукция адского ведра, которое так ценилось в средние века, что целые народы шли за него на войну. Люди гибли сотнями тысяч, но один факт оставался непреложным. Ни у кого нет власти над ведром. О да. Ведро. Пещерный рисунок. Мы знаем, что ведра появились раньше людей, но не знаем, насколько раньше. Рисунок изображает древнего человека, который научился пользоваться ведром. По всей вероятности, ведру к этому времени уже несколько тысяч лет. Обратите внимание, как ведро позволяет себя использовать, признав человечество достойным этого.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Висящее ведро экспонат символизирует неизбежную связь ведра и человечества. Мы можем думать, что отлично понимаем ведро, но всегда найдется что-то, чего мы не осознали, и это всегда к лучшему. Что?
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Ведро приказывало мне не останавливаться, не перезапускать игру. И вот мы здесь. И у нас снова коридор.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Как найти их? И правда, как найти их? Я это уже нашел. Здесь будет награда, когда ты найдешь их всех. О да, я найду их всех.
Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Да-да, наверх мы пойдем. Вот она, кстати, еще одна.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley?
Мне
What name
нравится.
better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
But Stanley just couldn't do
Ох,
it.
мы опять
He
сюда
considered the
пришли.
possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for
Но мы
that.
зашли за
And in such a
статуэткой, по
competitive
крайней мере.
economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Nope. Что ж, я думаю, на этом The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe пора бы и закончить. Пока живой, Вадим. Остался только я, не живой. Не знаю, что ты со мной будешь делать.